Welcome to Episode 40, Harden POS Devices and Field Hardware Against Compromise. The aim is resilient endpoints that remain trustworthy from the day they arrive to the day they retire, judged through an assessor's lens rather than a technician's toolkit. On the PCIP exam, strength is proven by traceable decisions and artifacts, named models, signed firmware, custody records, inventory reconciliation, and incident evidence that a reviewer can retrace without guessing. When you think about terminals on a counter, handhelds in a queue, kiosks near a doorway, or mobile readers at events, the common thread is exposure. These devices sit where attackers can touch them, where network paths may vary, and where busy staff rotate. A strong program never relies on hope. It relies on scope control, clean baselines, and a paper trail that shows who touched each device, what changed, where that change was recorded, and when it was approved. That is the posture the exam rewards.
Physical control matters because these endpoints live in public and semi-public spaces. Locks, enclosures, tamper-evident seals, cable restraints, and camera coverage do not make a device invincible, but they make unauthorized access detectable and provable. An assessor expects a seal map with locations and serials, a schedule for visual inspections, and photographs captured at installation and during periodic checks. Cages or countermounts reduce opportunistic swaps. Security screws and concealed cabling slow quick insertions of skimmers or shims. The key, for exam reasoning, is not the hardware brand, but the traceability. There should be a record that someone looked, what they saw, and what changed. If a scenario presents two choices, we train staff to be vigilant versus we train staff and recorded seal inspections with dates and signatures, the stronger answer is the one that leaves a dated mark an assessor can read. Attackers love default doors, so unused interfaces and services must be silent. That means disabling debug consoles, turning off Bluetooth if it is not part of the approved design, blocking unused USB paths, and removing resident tools that were helpful in staging but dangerous in production. Evidence looks like a hardened baseline checklist, configuration exports that show disabled interfaces, and a sample spot check report from a physical or logical audit. For some hardware, dip switches or firmware flags prove a port is permanently off. For others, a configuration bundle plus a lockout pin shows the control. In exam scenarios that weigh "we never use the port" against "the port is disabled and checked," the assessor's choice is the second because it is verifiable over time. The goal is not to trust habit, but to enforce silence and record it. Even when the device is physically safe, communication must still earn trust. Encrypted channels, mutual authentication, and monitored management paths keep transactions and updates clean. End-to-end encryption between POS and host, certificate-based mutual authentication to defeat impersonation, and restricted management networks reduce both eavesdropping and rogue commands. Assessors look for certificates with expiry tracking, key custodianship records, secure tunnel configurations, and monitoring that raises tickets when a device tries to talk to an unexpected endpoint. Management consoles should leave an audit trail: who pushed a configuration, which devices received it, and whether the devices acknowledged it. On the exam, the correct answer is rarely "we use encryption." It is "we use encryption with mutual verification and independent monitoring," and here is where the proof would live. Administrative capability must be smaller than the attack surface, not larger. Limit admin functions to named personnel, enforce multi-factor authentication, and record privileged sessions so elevated actions can be reviewed. The evidence route includes role definitions, access request approvals, MFA enrollment logs, and session recordings or command transcripts stored with retention. Where shared accounts are unavoidable for vendor tools, there should be a compensating layer, check-in-out procedures, or a gateway that ties real identity to the shared credential. Exam items that pit strong passwords against MFA, least privilege, and recorded sessions with periodic review are testing whether you prioritize traceable control over purely preventative claims. The best answer keeps admin small, verified, and reviewable. Inventory is only useful when it reconciles with the world. Serial numbers must match deployed locations and assigned owners, and mismatches must be treated as incidents until proven otherwise. A mature practice runs a regular reconciliation. Pull a list from the inventory system, compare to last known physical checks and transaction logs, and investigate deltas. Evidence includes a reconciliation report with sample sizes or full counts,
discrepancy tickets with outcomes, and updates to the source of truth. An assessor will ask to see one mismatch journey end to end: the initial alert, the site check, the cause, and the remediation or report. On the exam, prefer answers that turn reconciliation into a tracked activity with dates and owners rather than a vague promise to keep lists current. Lists do not create trust. Investigations do. Firmware patching is a supply chain moment, so provenance matters more than speed. Pull updates only from vetted sources. Verify checksums or signatures before staging, test on a pilot group, and record results before broad rollout. The artifacts are familiar: vendor advisory with version and risk notes, checksum or signature verification logs, pilot test ticket with pass-fail criteria, approvals for production rollout, and post-deployment health checks. If a scenario offers patch fast versus patch with verification and staged rollout, the trusted answer is the latter, because verification is what turns action into assurance. When a compromise involves malicious updates, the organizations that can prove provenance in staging are the ones that contain the blast faster and satisfy the auditor sooner. Anomalies tell stories if you choose to hear them. Transaction failure spikes, unexpected clock shifts, sudden reboots, or new processes on a thin device often indicate tampering or unstable code. Monitoring should convert these signals into tickets with context: device identity, location, last config change, and a short diff from the prior state. Where feasible, alerts should correlate across devices to prevent noise. 10 devices in one store failing at the same hour suggests a site issue. One device drifting time suggests local tampering. An assessor expects dashboards that retain these events for review and sampling. On the PCIP exam, the winning answer blends detection with evidence. Not just that an alert fired, but that the alert was captured, triaged, and tied to a decision you can read later. People are part of the control surface, and training is most effective when it is short and concrete. Staff need to recognize tamper signs, lifted keypads, loose bezels, unfamiliar overlay devices, broken seals, and to treat unscheduled maintenance as a red flag. The accessible proof is a training roster, dated modules or micro-lessons, quick reference cards at the till, and incident drill notes showing staff practiced escalation. A brief monthly reminder with photographs of current attack patterns keeps attention high without fatigue. On the exam, answers that pair awareness with recorded practice are stronger than those that rely on annual lectures alone, because practice is what produces evidence of readiness under stress. Incidents involving field devices must close the loop quickly and cleanly. Rapid isolation means pulling the device from service, capturing identifying details, preserving any attached skimmer for law enforcement, and documenting the timeline. Replacement should be coordinated through the same custody system that controls all movement, so the substitute arrives with a verified baseline and the removed unit is logged to secure storage or vendor analysis. The artifacts include the incident ticket, photographs, seal records, transport signatures, and the configuration verification for the replacement. On the exam, favor incident responses that protect evidence while restoring service in a controlled way. Fast is good. Fast with a record is what passes assessment. Trust does not end at last swipe. Retirement must be deliberate. Devices with storage should be wiped according to vendor guidance. Certificates and keys must be revoked, and inventory must reflect that the asset left service. The evidence has 3 parts: a retirement ticket with serial, owner, and date, a wipe or decommission log with method and result, and a certificate revocation or access removal record that shows the device can no longer authenticate. If recycling or resale is used, chain of custody extends to the third party with a receipt and method statement. In exam scenarios, the answer that explicitly revokes trust material and updates inventory beats any option that simply disposes of hardware without a paper trail. Underpinning all of this is communications security done right. Devices should use TLS with current protocols, PIN routes, or certificate profiles where supported, and no mixed-mode fallbacks to insecure channels. For managed fleets, mutual authentication between the device and management servers prevents rogue configuration pulls or pushes. The assessor expects to see configuration snapshots, certificate inventories with expirations tracked, revocation testing notes, and network allow lists that restrict where devices can talk.
On the exam, encrypted alone is insufficient. The correct answer binds encryption to validation and monitoring with named evidence an auditor could sample in minutes. Close with action you can verify this week. The practical, assessor-friendly step is a small audit across 10 devices. Confirm seal integrity against the recorded seal map, read and record firmware versions against the approved list, and reconcile each serial to the inventory location and owner. Capture photographs, log any mismatches as tickets, and note the remediation or explanation. That tiny slice creates living proof that your field controls exist beyond policy text. If the exercise reveals a drifted version or a missing seal record, you also gain a concrete improvement item to track with a due date and an owner. That is the habit the PCIP exam is steering you toward. Make controls visible, make exceptions finite, and make trust a repeatable outcome rather than a hope tied to busy days and long distances. Step back, and you will see a pattern that holds across retailers, service providers, and pop-up payment situations. Choose what you can defend, record what you did, and keep every device inside a narrow, observable lane. Standard models and baselines deter chaos. Physical protections and custody records defeat quiet swaps. Disabled ports, verified firmware, and authenticated channels remove casual entry points. Privileged access shrinks to people you can name. Inventory reconciliation turns absence into an alarm. Monitoring translates noise into decisions. Training makes the first line attentive. Incident handling preserves truth while returning service. And retirement revokes trust on purpose. The evidence trail, policies tied to tickets, tied to devices, does the final work of persuasion. That is how endpoints stay resilient from deployment to retirement, and that is the shape of an answer the exam will recognize as correct. Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit baremetalcyber.com.